Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thank you all for being here this evening. For those who are watching online, we will be going into for a very brief executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for purposes of personnel?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Cicery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bromley. Is there a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Benedict?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Cicery?
Yes.
Mrs. Goldman?
Yes.
Mrs. Bromley?
Yes.
Ms. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes, we are in executive session. We'll be back momentarily. Thank you. Motion to come out of executive session, please. Motion by Mr. Cicery, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bowman, any discussion? Roll call vote, please, Mrs. Wickup.
Mrs. Benedict.
Yes.
Mr. Marucci.
Yes.
Mr. Cicery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman.
Yes.
Mrs. Brownlee.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes, thank you very much. On our agenda this evening is our first presentation, the preliminary budget update from Annabelle Solar, Superintendent of Schools, and Scott Rosansky, our Business Administrator. Gentlemen.
So I'm just going to provide just a quick update regarding, I'm sure everyone's been asking or wondering if we've heard anything regarding our first measurement period from the governor's office, and we were told May 15th, and we have yet to hear anything. So the next day they gave us was May 20th, which is tomorrow. So we're hopeful to hear something. But I just want us to remain optimistic that no news is good news, or it could be very bad news when we do finally hear. But we have technically till the end of the month, and then the next one's supposed to happen again. We're supposed to happen June 1st. I'm assuming that that's going to be delayed as well. So remember, we have 2 to get to before we get to the January measurement period. So we have 2 potential adjustments to happen before July 1 when we start our new budget. So just want to make sure we don't lose sight of that. But right now, we haven't heard anything negative. Did have a conference call today with the Commissioner of Education for the state, the interim Commissioner, Shannon Tahoe, who said that the Federal CARES Act money is getting released, but that it was already a part of our budget under the pandemic adjustment. So that money will come to the districts once we apply, and it'll just basically come right back out for the amount that was in there. The only thing that she cautioned us is that it could be less than what was actually projected, because that pandemic adjustment line was put into our state aid runs before the Federal CARES Act was ever even approved. So once they appropriate by districts and they figure out a calculation, it could potentially be less than what was there. So we would potentially have to make up that difference as well. And so, we just hope that some kind of bailout comes out for education that at least holds us harmless, not necessarily help us, but we can definitely use the help. We are applying for FEMA money for some of the stuff that we spent on aid, and we've been keeping track of that as well. But again, it's not going to necessarily help our budget. And I just want to make sure that we put that out there publicly so people know that everything that we get will probably just be a pass-through back to the governor's budget to kind of hold us harmless. And that pandemic adjustment money was already accounted for to keep our state aid flat. So if we did not have that in there, we would have been down, several hundred thousand with that. So, again, no news is good news right now, but that's kind of the update I have. I'll hand it over to Scott to go through some particulars with the actual documents.
And so what you have in front of you is what we presented on May 5th. The budget's $51,470,726, or 1.89% increase. And the tax levy is a decrease of $7,362, or 19,493,958. Just one clarification on the positions that were reduced. We had reported a treasurer position, and it is technically a deputy treasurer position that is being reduced.
Just for clarity, we have to have a treasurer. So when one of the people who are potentially in that office apply for it, their title, which is deputy treasurer, will go away. So we just wanted to clarify that.
So basically, there's been no changes in revenues. We're still falling short from the tax cap is still a negative, and we have not made any adjustments other than some of the ones that we'll get into in a little bit as far as reductions in other areas in the budget. So right now we're just asking the board, or you're asking the board to adopt the budget as currently stated, and hopefully we will not have any further negative impact from the state in regards to further deletions from this at that time. Is that correct?
Yeah, if there are negative adjustments moving forward, we'll either have to make additional reductions, or you use reserves or fund balance at that point in time.
Okay,
Yeah, so the one thing, again, just to clarify, we have the positions listed here. And the only thing I want to remind the board about was the reading teacher, elementary teacher. What we've done through a lot of hard work of researching people's actual certifications, who was appropriately placed in that may be a little bit of a different ratio, like, 3 to 7, or, so just want to be mindful that the 5 and 5 may not be 100% accurate, but they will be in the elementary level at some point, and it may cause some bumping, not necessarily truly all layoffs. I just want you to be aware of that, because as a board, you may get some feedback that says, you said 5 reading, 5 elementary, but it was actually 3 reading, and 2 people may have been a sped teacher in a reading position, and actually we got moved out. So I just want to be clear that we're finalizing our list with the lawyer, and we'll be sharing that with the union, so that the teachers union is aware, and they make sure they can confirm it, and so that there's no surprises. And then we'll be meeting with members impacted once we adopt the budget, once the budget is voted in on June 2nd, or positions are. But
Yeah, June 2nd, we'll ask the board to abolish those positions that are truly affected.
okay. One other quick thing, the personnel cuts, which also include retirements and attrition of people who have left or leaving the district, as well as the teacher aides who were listed, who were substitute teacher aides. All of these cuts were determined through a joint effort by the administrative team from top to bottom, as far as, and by department heads.
yeah, so the majority of the positions came with building level input. So each principal was met with and provided recommendations by their site. Obviously, the long-term substitute teacher aides is a natural attrition point, because those people would not have technically been offered a job back. So we decided to keep that consistent and not re-offer them a job for next year, knowing the budget piece that was there. So that did not necessarily, that was kind of decided more at my level with budget and the director of special education, just kind of working through that. And that may change, because IEPs are getting redone now, and so some of those positions may have to come back based on what an IEP says, but that'll be done after July 1. After we know that. So the other thing is, some of these, they're not listed here because you've already approved them, but many of these at the secondary level were through retirements. So we had a social studies, we had math, we had science that were also part of this. So, I want to be real clear that we were very intentional and trying to be very strategic, so that we didn't lay off 30-something individuals in terms of full-time tenure track teaching positions. Many of these we were able to handle really strategically. Unfortunately, some of it will impact the people who, by seniority in tenure areas, it will be impacted, but it will come down to more around 10 to 13 individuals potentially across the system that will be more impacted. I know the number 30 is out there, but one of the clericals is a retirement, and one of the other clericals is not necessarily, it will potentially cause a little bit of bumping and then impact somebody based on seniority. But, I think that we've done a lot, and the board has approved a very strategic reduction, at least for it. It's still painful, but, there's some misinformation out there. Class sizes are not going all to contractual, that there's a belief that every room's gonna have 28 kids in a room. That's not the case. And many of the reductions in the elementary, we have less kids moving up. And so like at Jackson, we lost a teacher at Jackson because there's less sections next year. And Kennedy, there's 2 grade levels with less sections next year. So some of that is just some natural, we just don't have more kids coming into the system to keep the numbers in. It would be ideal to have, one teacher with 15 kids, but it's just not where we are. So we expect, class sizes to be around 24, maybe 25 at Kennedy here and there, where historically they've probably been at 22. So I just want to be forthright, but we didn't sacrifice, strings experience. We didn't sacrifice physical education, sports. Many of those things were protected in this budget, despite having a $1.9 million gap. So, and no tax increase to the community, which, again, everyone knows the economics. So, President Burke, just to reiterate, This is done very strategic, being very intentional. Again, there is a little bit of discomfort because we don't want to lose any employees, but I think we did it very minimally, very strategically.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions on the budget as presented? Okay, I did want, before we have a vote on the budget, to approve the budget, I did want to go through a couple of things. We did receive, it's very hard for us to do public meetings and answer public questions considering the current restrictions on people coming in and meeting at the meeting. Between now and our board hearing on the budget, which is going to be June 2nd, I am asking all people who have a question to please submit the question to our board representative, Brittany Whitcup, and her email is BAWhitcup, WITKOP, at bataviacsd.org. All questions should be submitted with name of the individual asking the question, contact information, and your address. We will be dealing with these as we would in a public session. So at the June 2nd, any questions that are received, we will read the question, who asked it, and we will provide an answer. All questions must be provided to us by May 31st at noon in order for us to make sure that we have all of the information in. We did receive some questions for today's meeting, and even though normally we would not answer because they were not sent in by individuals, I do realize that most of these questions that were sent have been put in, have been asked before, and are a matter of public record. So we did want to go through some of them, at least give you some of the questions that were sent to us by some citizens to date. Again, this is not normal procedure, but we feel we can help the public understand where some of these questions are and where they can find some of the answers, what some of these questions are, and find some of the answers. The first question is, what are the current fund balances the Batavia City School District is holding reserve, both restricted and unrestricted? This has been answered. It's a matter of public record. I can tell you that rather than go into all of them this evening, it is located on the district website in the budget. On the website, it starts on page 307. If you want a quick look in the budget on the website, it's on page 329 for the summary. Our property tax report card, which includes reserves, will also be on the website and posted sometime tomorrow after this meeting. So you can look on that at bataviacityschooldistrict.org on page 36. Question number 2, can you provide us specifically what alternative cost-saving measures or cuts the board considered other than reducing the number of teachers and aides we have? We proposed a payroll freeze for all employees. We proposed a bell schedule change for all schools that would save transportation costs. We asked for changes to health insurance plans. We looked at a reduction, and we have included a reduction of BOCES programs and services provided to the schools specifically. We looked at potentially outsourcing UPK. We eliminated our capital outlay. Transportation of all students to allow tiered transportation services were looked at. Delaying equipment, material, and supply purchases. There's a conference moratorium. There's a reduction in Schedule C services. There is a reduction of a second SRO officer, and we're not filling any vacant positions. Question number 3, the board indicates reducing 2 administrative positions at a total cost of $58,000. Please explain how these numbers make sense when currently all members of your administrative staff make more than $58,000. Will these be reassignments? The answer to that has matter of record. 2 assistant principal positions were vacant. 2 central office administrative positions were reduced in the budget process. The 2 central office administrators will be placed into these vacant positions, thus bumping the teachers that currently hold the 2 assistant principal positions on special assignment back into the classroom, which reduces impacts a teacher, and the other position causes a net savings of $58,000. So basically, the 2 people who are currently serving as assistant principal positions will go back into their teaching positions, and the difference in savings between those positions and their teaching salaries is $58,000. as the administration considered freezing their pay as a separate action from asking the teachers to freeze theirs as well. Why is it all or nothing? Freezing administrative pay raises seems like the servant leadership thing to do and will cover a number of job losses. Yes, this was considered. In fact, the administrative team was willing if others were, but not pursued because of historical animosity that was created previously when the administrative group did take a pay freeze and other groups did not. So in the past, the administration of this district has taken a pay freeze while others did not. They also have taken increases, many of them did take increases in insurance costs and currently pay the highest rate of insurance in the district. Please explain why the Batavia City School District has chosen a business administrator to be its top financial officer when the vast majority of other districts have a treasurer who performs these functions. In addition, since our school district was audited and cited by the New York State in 2016 for essentially maintaining reserve funds in excess of New York State statute, why has our business administrator received over $25,000 in additional salary in the past 3 years? This is a three-tiered question. Almost all districts have this position, and in some other school districts, they have an assistant superintendent or chief financial officer fulfill this role at a much greater cost. In our area, most districts have a certified business administrator. In 2016 audit, the district was cited for having strong financial practices for the tax levy tax rate district. The current fiscal condition is a result of almost 20% increase in its staff over the past 7 years, with a reduction in student enrollment and an increase in contractual obligations. Other significant factors contributing to our fiscal challenge at this time is the consistent flat and/or decrease in state aid. No tax levy increase. Past budgets with flat or minimal tax increases have been of great benefit to our taxpayers in the city. We do not discuss personal contracts at this level and are not responding to or will be discussed in public Board of Education sessions. Number 6, when schools do finally reopen, there's a virtual certainty that many of our students will be behind academically and needing additional support. This question goes on and continues about ELA, reading teachers, and teacher aides. The New York State Education Department is currently working on reopening guidance and requirements. We're expected to have this guidance and general parameters to reopen sometime in July. At that point, we will work with a team of district stakeholders to finalize and developing the opening of school plans and dealing with all the situations that were listed in the question about students needing additional support. Question number 7 deals with the #1 driver of academics, comes down to student-teacher ratio. The answer to that is, as we work on plans to reopen in the fall, we will work with our district social workers, school counselors, and other community-based organizations to make sure we support our students' socio-emotional needs upon return, as well as other needs. Again, as stated previously, the reductions of staff at individual buildings were done by the administrative team as a group in order to make sure that all of the administrative group was with them, and also to ensure the minimum of impact on our students. What efforts has our board or superintendent made to reach out to local corporations and business to solicit support and assistance in filling the gap in the budget? The Board of Education has not formulated a plan to approach businesses for sponsorships, etc. What many people do not realize is that this is usually not effective because donations directly to a school district are not tax deductible. It's also an option that the Batavia City School District Foundation could pursue, but this is not a function of the Board of Education and or a school district. The City of Batavia School District does have a school district foundation if they wish to pursue going forward or going after donations from local businesses in order to offset costs and or work in the classroom. Since the Batavia City School District closed its doors in mid-March, what cost savings have occurred due to the closure? Could these funds not be used to offset some of the gap identified for next year? Currently, since all employees have not had a negative impacted finance and have been held harmless in their salary and wage benefits. Again, all current employees are receiving their pay in full to the end of the school year. During the pandemic, we have had many increased costs with overtime and contractual obligations, which has contributed to some minimal savings in payroll for extra duty assignments and substitutes, but unemployment costs are expected to increase because substitutes are eligible for unemployment. There has been some utility savings and some transportation cost savings. However, these transportation costs are being challenged, and we may end up having to pay the savings in transportation costs back to the transportation companies because of contracts. Savings in transportation costs would also negatively affect the district's state aid next year, since transportation in this district is highly funded by state aid. All savings are being managed by the Board of Education to mitigate ongoing financial impact, as the governor has indicated 3 adjustment periods to school aid that may decrease our state aid. And a projected long-term deficit in revenue in state aid is, New York State is projecting 4 years deficit of $61 billion. And finally, the question about reserve funds. We are using reserve funds, and the Board of Education doesn't want to increase taxes to our citizens in the city of Batavia at this time. We feel that we have taken a slow and measured approach in a difficult time in order to maintain an excellent education program to the best of our ability in the city of Batavia School District, while not impacting on the local taxpayer to the extent that could make it a hardship for them during this time. So those were questions we have received from the community, and we thank you for us taking the time, and we also appreciate receiving the questions. Again, I will remind you, all further questions asked that are requested to be answered by the Board of Education at our public hearing, since we cannot have the public at the public hearing physically, are to be sent to B.A. Whitkop, W-I-T-K-O-P, at bataviacsd.org by May 31st at noon. We need an individual's name, address, and contact information so that we can get back to you if we cannot answer the question the night of the hearing. Thank you all very, very much. That ends our presentation for the preliminary budget update. Is there a motion to approve the budget as presented?
So,
Motion by, I didn't hear, I'm sorry, Ms. Murphy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cicery. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Benedict.
yes.
Mr. Marucci.
Yes.
Mr. Cicery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman.
Yes.
Mrs. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes. The budget has passed. Thank you very much. It's been a long and tiring road to try and get through it all. We thank you all very much. Agenda alterations are on the pink sheet in front of you. They include a consent item. As well as a few other things for contracts and Schedule C updates. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as altered?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brownlee, seconded by Ms. Murphy. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Benedict.
Yes.
Mr. Marucci.
Yes.
Mr. Cicery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman.
Yes.
Mrs. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes. Thank you. The agenda is altered. Item number 5 is consent items A through J, including the new ones on our agenda alterations. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Motion by Mr. Marucci. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Benedict. Any other discussion? We have a roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Benedict.
Yes.
Mr. Marucci.
Yes.
Mr. Cicery.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman.
Yes.
Mrs. Brownlee.
Yes.
Ms. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes. Under old business, we've already approved the budget adoption. We have the property tax report card. Mr. Rosansky?
Yeah, this is a new requirement the last couple of years. It basically, it compares budget to budget and taxes, and our reserves, actual and estimated, and where they are as of March 31st this year, and where they're projected to be at the end of the year. The board will need to adopt that or approve that tonight. And I also distributed some historical information on 18-year tax levy history and the city tax rate history for your review. We will put these up also on the website for the public.
Thank you, Mr. Rosansky. The school report card is going to be placed up on the website. We ask the public to go and look at it as much as they possibly can. It's as well as the additional tax levy information going to be up as well.
Yes.
The past tax levy information, as well as our past budgets from, I believe, looks like about the last 16 or 17 years will also be placed up on the website. Is there any questions on this?
On the property tax report card, the reserves are also listed on the bottom, so that'll be another location where the reserves are listed as well.
Okay, yes, as the reserves are on the property tax report card, which shows restricted fund balance, appropriated fund balance, and unrestricted fund balance as of this time. One thing I do want to point out with reserves that is never on the report card is the unrestricted fund balance, or the 4% that we are recommending to have at the end of each school year, basically are the funds that we pay the bills with until the money starts coming in from the previous, or from the next year, as well as summer costs, so on and so forth. So they recommend that we maintain that 4% because that's the amount that we will need in order to start our next school year, in this case, the 2021 school year. So that's never put on the report card, but that's the reason why the unrestricted fund balance percent of the budget is 4%. And you will notice that that 4% is there, and that's the reason why they recommend the 4%, so that we can maintain paying our bills without borrowing for the next year. Is there a motion to approve the report card? So, motion by Mrs. Benedict, seconded by Mr. Sissery. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Benedict?
Yes.
Mr. Marucci?
Yes.
Mr. Sissery?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman?
Yes.
Mrs. Brownlee?
Yes.
Ms. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes. Thank you very much. Motion passes. Next, under old business, is the capital outlay project of $100,000 that will be on the ballot. Is that correct?
That's part of the budget.
Right.
We just need to identify what project in our communications to the public, what we're doing.
So, again, is this going to be up on the website?
Yeah, so we need just to clarify, President Burke, we need the board to choose an option,
Right.
and then we will put that out there.
Right.
So we shared with you last time the 3 options. They're on the sheet that's labeled capital outlay options that you each have. Once you make a selection, it'll be a part of our vote and budget process, and it'll be publicly shared so that they know what is being supported. But we just need to know which one the board would like us to go with, and then we will make sure it's transparent to the public. And
Am I looking right at it?
it's this sheet right here, this is
Says campus on top?
on the top. You can have mine.
Wait,
I have a couple, does anyone have any, I mean, I've had a couple of insights and a couple of things I talked about. Of course, I have a couple of situations that I think we, could deal with, but we have to literally pick one of the projects. For the purpose of the public, the projects include the Jackson Primary new restroom in the gymnasium area, as well as some other things around. At the high school, there's a new stage floor, new clocks, and a master clock that will keep everything uniform and accurate. And at the middle school, it's exterior doors and landscaping. And all the projects are listed here. So the board discussion on the capital outlay options. Ms. Murphy. Anything?
Well, the new restrooms in the gymnasium, this will consist of plumbing, electrical, is that stuff? I guess my thing is I would want to go for the thing that is most needed, as opposed to like the new stage floor in the high school. Is the stage floor in bad? I haven't performed in so long.
In my opinion, the stage floor in the high school is absolutely dreadful, and it wasn't included in the capital project of improving the theater. So we have the new stage with all the new rigging and all the new curtains and all the new entrances, and we have a stage floor that's literally falling apart.
And then the new clocks.
Well, they're not uniform, so I mean, that's.
Well, no, so I guess, I don't know.
So we only have one option?
You can only choose one of these
It's
projects.
like property rights.
So you need to choose, Jackson, the high school, or the middle school. There's one at each location.
Well, it says all exterior doors will be replaced with new security doors.
That's the middle school?
So I-
middle school.
I was gonna ask the same thing, so I think
Security
if
doors.
you're looking at safety and what things absolutely should be replaced,
Yeah.
that should be it, especially at the middle school, if we don't have all safety doors in place
Right.
where adolescents are. It's-
Right.
I think as for safety reasons, I would go with that one.
Well, we have them, they're dated, and right now we're using all these new key policies, so that was, so just, it is secure, but they're just, and each time for them to be, I don't want people to think that they.
But also I think the middle school is the place where the least amount of things have happened, so I think landscaping, it would make it look nicer for security reasons. I would go with that one.
I also, I'm going with that one just because of the security doors.
Is there a motion to approve the middle school as a capital outlay project for 2021?
So,
Motion by Mrs. Bowman, seconded by Mrs. Benedict. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Benedict,
yes.
Mr. Marucci,
Yes.
Mr. Sittry,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman,
Yes.
Mrs. Brownlee,
Yes.
Mrs. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is the revised 2019-20 Board of Education meeting schedule and the revised 2021 school district calendar. The changes of the meeting schedule obviously included, they're all in red. Tonight's meeting, the conference, the budget hearing, and the budget vote via paper ballots, which we are working on establishing now. So basically, that's the change. Is there a motion to approve the changes to the 2019-20, this current year school calendar? Motion by Mr. Sistrey, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Marucci, any discussion?
I just want to point out that we're changing our meetings to Mondays instead of Tuesdays for those listening. That's a change.
Yes, that's on the 2021 one.
Yeah, so just to clarify,
That's part of the next school
we're just
calendar.
voting on the current school year, just to add the new
Oh,
dates, and then there'll be a separate one for the one.
Yeah, the vote on the floor right now is for the changes because of the COVID impact,
Okay.
so on and so forth, which is the red one.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Benedict.
Yes.
Mr. Marucci,
Yes.
Mr. Sittry,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman,
Yes.
Mrs. Brownlee,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes. Item number 2 is the proposed, or item D, I'm sorry, 2021 school district calendar, which is the colorful document, as well as our board meetings, which are now switching to Monday evening. And for the 2021 school year. Is there a motion to approve the school calendar and the Board of Education calendar for the 2021 school year? Motion by Mrs. Brownlee, is there a second? Second by Mrs. Bowman, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Benedict.
Yes.
Mr. Marucci,
Yes.
Mr. Sistrey,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman,
Yes.
Mrs. Brownlee,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Yes. Motion has carried. Item E is the change of end of school year. This is on page 31 of your agenda, and I believe this information has gone out. But we do, all of it is listed here as far as our last day of remote learning for students and teachers is Wednesday, June 17th. Our last day of breakfast and lunch meal distribution is Friday, June 26th. We only have a tentative BHS commencement ceremony at 2 p.m. We're trying to get final details if we can, how we can do that and when we can handle that on Saturday, June 27th. But our last day of remote learning and for students and teachers, because of us working over the spring break time, will be Wednesday, June 17th. Do we need a motion to approve that?
It was just more for,
Information.
official public record and the board to know, but, we have to do that for contractual reasons.
Yeah. So we would like to, we don't need a motion to approve. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct. Thank you very much. It does fulfill the number of days required both by New York State, and it does fulfill our contractual obligations with our employees. Item number 7 is reports. Superintendent Soller's report, please.
Yeah, so we continue to do remote learning. Obviously, you're aware of the end of the year letter. We're working on finalizing graduation plans. We just got good feedback today from the Batavia Police Department that they believe that we've given some guidance that they received that we'll be able to do an outdoor event. Again, still highly tentative because we still want to make sure our Department of Health also endorses our, well, they won't necessarily officially approve it, but they will review it. Because at the end of the day, they still have to follow the governor's guidance. We believe by then it'll be close to phase 4 of the reopening, and at that point, if you haven't heard, they are allowing Memorial Day gatherings already for the governor announced today. I think no groups larger than, I want to say, 10 for Memorial Day gathering, but outside and in public. So I think as we get there and we continue to do the good work around social distancing and cleanliness, and that we'll be in a better position with a graduation. Again, I want to emphasize tentative, so those community members listening, I don't want us to get super worked up, but that is our preference, to honor our kids at Vendetta in an outdoor fashion. The principal Kessler, Mr. Brownlee, they're working on the logistics of what that would look like. So we are, I think, I'm pretty excited, but again, I want to just caution us till we get closer to that date. We'll make the final determination 2 weeks before, so that we're consistent with the governor doing every 2 weeks the phase. The other thing is we've served 110,000 meals. We are in the 10th week of being closed. Again, it's about 10,000 meals that are going out every week. It's pretty significant when you think about just the population of the city of Batavia is around 15,000 residents at the last time we did the census. So if you think about we're feeding almost 1-to-1 what was been reported in this community. So the community's been great, very grateful. Our teachers continue to work hard with kids. I know Dr. Corey will share more in her update, but we're getting to the point where there is a little bit of burnout with online. So I know as an adult, I get a little burned out with numerous meetings, but very proud of the staff. Many of our administrators are going out to homes. Our Jackson families are getting visits from their teachers that are dropping off the belongings of the kids, which I thought was very, very commendable of our teachers at Jackson, who did not want the family to come pick it up. They wanted to drop them off. And we've heard all kinds of testimonials about kids getting spelling quizzes in the driveway, from their teachers. So we've heard a lot of great stuff. And so that's pretty much my update as of right now. And if we hear anything with the budget, we will definitely inform the board right away around anything, and we'll work accordingly.
Thank you very much. Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Corey, your report, please.
Just to add a little bit more, as teachers wrap up the school year, I'm working on developing an abridged summer professional development catalog and guidelines for a limited number of curriculum projects. The focus will cover social emotional learning, learning competencies, and best practice for distance learning to help plan for the reopening of school with an unknown scenario. I'm gathering information from our webinars, and I'm meeting with each ILT member to understand the Batavia perspective. I'm also going to gather input from parents and students. It's great to see the positive stories posted on social media from parents, students, and teachers, but the reality is we still have a lot of work to do to prepare for that reopening.
Thank you. Are there any other reports? Anything else for the meeting?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one last thing. We do have a local business collaboration with the city school district and 3 local businesses on some apparel to recognize our kids. So if you have not seen that, board members, I encourage you to share with your networks as well. We have it posted on our website, social media. We were very grateful to work with some local companies to try to make sure we're bringing some opportunities for revenue here right in the community.
Anything else to report? Mr. Rosansky, just real quick before we go up, I just want to make the point to the public, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that all members of the public that are registered voters will receive a ballot prior to the June 9th date that it has to be returned. Do we have an approximate date yet?
We hope to send them out on Friday, so they should receive them by the 26th of May.
Okay.
And we have that posted on our website. And if you don't receive it and you're a qualified voter, because we don't know who qualified voters are. If you moved into the district 2 months ago and you didn't register, there's a process indicated on our website that what you need to do to get a vote.
Okay. So again, the website is very, very important, and we do apologize for making this even more difficult for voting in your school board election. But the rules for a school board election is you do not need to be a registered voter and or on the registered voter list in order to vote. You do have to be an eligible voter, which is what Mr. Rosansky was talking about. So if you do not get a ballot in the mail through the voter registration that is currently on record, you can go on the website and request it tells you how to request a ballot, and then we will confirm that you are an eligible voter and you will be sent out a ballot. And all ballots are sent back postage free. I just wanted to point that out to everybody because it is obviously an extremely different way of voting this year. If there's nothing else to come to the meeting, is there a motion to go into executive session for purposes of personnel?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bowman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Marucci, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Benedict?
Yes.
Mr. Marucci?
Yes.
Mr. Sitzler?
Yes.
Mrs. Bowman?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes. We will be in executive session. I do thank the public and thank you for bearing with us. Again, questions for our public, for the public hearing on the budget, please send them to Mrs. Whitcup at BA Whitcup, WITKOP, at bataviacsd.org by May 31st at noon. We will try and answer as many questions as possible for you at the public hearing. We're in executive session.